Hi, it's Suzi Chicago. Welcome to my podcast. It's a show about everything and nothing. We're here to make you laugh and give you a break from the real world. And guess what? The break starts right now. Hey everybody, it's Suzi Chicago. Welcome to my podcast. As you know, it's been a while. It's been spotty. We've had some problems technically with recordings, and so it's been a gap. It's been a while. Anyway, but I'm here. I've been doing lots of shows. I had lots of visitors, and I have more visitors coming. My grandson, who introduced me on my special, will be here this Thursday for 4th of July weekend. He's 28, and so he is my playmate. And we'll be doing we're going to some comedy shows and hanging out, and I'll do some live stuff. Anyway, but thanks for listening. Like and subscribe, because that's what YouTube likes. And what else can I say? I just came back I was in Atlanta, which I had a horrendous corporate thing happen where I was supposed to go on at 6:30, and I got there at 5:30 because I'm always early. And the promoter told me, "Oh, the barbecue's not ready. Can you go on now and tell them they're not going to eat for another hour?" Of which they instantly hated me. And out of all those people, about 900 got up and left because they didn't want to sit there or stand there while waiting for their barbecue. And they didn't know that I was going to be on, there was going to be a comedian. About 5 people knew. So about 100 people stayed. And it was challenging, but as corporate events can be. And it was okay. And I just want to tell people who are, this is going to lead into my guest today, that a microphone and a speaker do not make a comedy show. You need lighting, you need a good sound system, not just a speaker. Recently I did a show, and their sound, I don't know what happened. She said, "I know you have a speaker and you have a microphone. Can you bring it?" And I recorded myself. I was the host of the show, and it was horrible. And so, for you, those of you out there doing comedy shows, it is not just a microphone and a speaker. And give your comedians a little more respect and up your game. But the guy who is on our podcast today, I did a show with him in LA called New Faces. I think it's called New Faces. And I did not win, but that's okay. I was the oldest person there, which was wonderful. And I didn't bring 25 people to the show. I only had a few. But he produces a great show. I had so much fun on his show that I thought, I'm going to ask this guy to be on my show. And so here I am. And can I introduce to you Sergio Novoa? Novoa? Is that right?
Novoa.
Novoa. Say hello, Sergio.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Yeah,
I don't think you were the oldest person in the show. I think I was.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah. And he's a comic and a producer, and he produces many shows. In fact, he's going to be down here in San Diego. I'm going to do a show with him at the Yellow Door. I think it's end of August, is it?
August.
And yes, thank you. I never trust me with a name or a date. I have certain limitations. Anyway, but he's a delightful man. He's a funny guy, a sweet guy that I wish we had more time, but he was running a show, so we couldn't really hang out. But anyway, Sergio, the first question I always ask people is, like, what brought you to comedy? How did you get into this crazy business we're in?
What brought me to comedy? I didn't know it was going to be comedy, but I remember I was about 5 or 6 years old. I lived in Central America. I was born
Where? Tell me.
Nicaragua.
Oh, Nicaragua. Okay, Alice's husband is Nicaraguan. Okay, go on.
And I remember our neighbor had a TV. So when there was this popular soap opera, and we'd all get together at this neighbor's house. And I remember the first time I saw the TV. Yeah, telenovela. I remember the first time I saw the TV, I looked and I thought, oh, I want to do that. No idea what that meant.
Yeah.
And then life happened. Things needed to go wherever they needed to. And I always had this desire to want to entertain. I didn't know in what capacity. I can't really sing. I wasn't sure if I can act, and I'm too old to be stripping. So
Hey, it goes for both of us.
Hey, there's a shoe for every foot. I might just join OnlyFans and prove myself wrong.
Oh, I'm gonna have Only Sue's. That's gonna be my website, Only Sue's. But anyway, and I'll be the only one on it.
I like it. It has a ring to it. So then I remember I knew that I wanted to entertain people, but it was not
Mhm.
something I grew up around. No one in my family was artistic. Maybe they were autistic, but
Me
they
too.
yeah. And I think I need to go to the doctor and be diagnosed properly. But I speak to friends of mine who have been diagnosed or have children who are diagnosed, and they're like, "Well, you might be on some spectrum." And I'm like, you know what? I think so too, but I haven't been diagnosed.
Yeah, recently I went for my physical, and I was worried a little bit about my memory, and I told them that I'd like to get a referral for a neurological evaluation, because sometimes when I'm up on the stage, I just sort of space out and forget where I was or whatever, which I guess comics do. But I thought it was my age, and I was worried that, I was losing my memory. So I ended up going to this neurologist. I still have to have the scan, but he said it's going to be nothing. And he gave me a 100-question test for my memory, and I got 100%. And he said to me, "Has anyone ever mentioned you might have ADD?" And I
Yeah.
said, "Yeah, think." But where I grew up, in the era I grew up in, they just hit you and told you to pay attention. There was no diagnosis.
We grew up
Yeah,
in the
I was
same.
always looking out the window. Were you looking out the I was always looking out the window in school at the birds and the squirrels, and never paying attention in school
Oh, yeah.
at all. I mean, I was a
Mhm.
good student, but on my own.
Yes. And they didn't have the tools back then. Now the tools are there where you can look at a child and say, wait a minute. They learned, like, I am not a read a book, read a chapter, and take a test on Friday person. I will fail that test every time.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
didn't have this when I was a
exactly.
child. I'm an interactive learner. I need to talk about it. I need to show it to you. I need to translate it, do an interpretive dance.
Yeah.
Then I will retain it. Um,
Yes, and I'm a visual person, and I'm an experiential learner, and I have a son on the spectrum who has an official diagnosis. He's now 38, but he's very functional, and because he's very smart. But there are adaptations that now we can use, and kids can use, and I wish they in school. I wish they had them. Although I don't know, I was really really smart, and that was the problem. I had such a high IQ, but what a learning disability is someone who performs 20 points below their IQ score on their you know, academic testing that they do. And I didn't know that till I had a child, but that would be me. And I don't think I'm on the spectrum, but
Yeah. It's
yeah.
interesting. I have a friend of mine who had a son who's extremely bright, very bright kid. And
Mhm.
what was happening in school is when the kids would get rowdy, he would feel overstimulated and he was
Yes.
so then they were
Yes.
considering him a problem child. And it's like, no, he's not a problem
Mhm.
child. He went somewhere, they took all sorts of tests. Turns out he's on some spectrum. I don't remember the technical term, but it was
Yeah.
basically teaching him tools. So when he was starting to feel this way, he would be able to regulate it. And then once he had these tools, it was
Mhm.
he was functioning just fine. It's like, oh, how wonderful we have this now. So I
Right, and with my son, we learned I taught early on, I had an adult with autism help us when he would go to Walmart or somewhere crowded. When you start to feel overstimulated, here, what are my signs? And he figured them out. And now, he can say I mean, he still doesn't like loud, like bars or clubs. He's not hanging out at places like that. But he's able to self-regulate and runs his own business and very successful, and just got married 2 weekends ago.
there
So
you go.
I'm an MIL, and somebody told somebody at the wedding on the loudspeaker. They said, "No, she's a MILF, a MILF." And my husband said,
You're missing the F.
my hu- "Yeah," and my husband said, "What's a MILF?" And so I whispered. He goes, "What?" I said, "I know. At my age, it's a nice compliment." But anyway,
There's no
so back to you. So
there's no
so
guilt.
so you yes, you wanted to entertain people.
I wanted to entertain
Eh,
people, and then it sat with me for a really long time. But I moved out of my house at the age of 16. So when you're 16 and you're still in high school and trying to live as an adult, you don't have the luxury to dream. You have to survive.
Yeah,
So I
that's right.
basically got in survival mode and stayed in survival
Mhm.
mode because it's what I knew. But I
Mhm.
I would always make people laugh. I was always quick and witty. I would always be the life of a party. And I didn't
Yeah.
think anything about it. And then I watched someone do comedy and I remember thinking, I could do that, or I would like to do that. I remember
Yes,
thinking,
me too.
and then, and the thought came in and it left. And then you name it, bought property, launched a business, got engaged, you name it. And then it always took the backseat. And then one day I was watching a special and I'm like, when am I going to do this? So I kid you not, I got up, I went to Google and I said, how to become a comedian. And it said host comedians, and it listed a ton of them. Start by taking improv classes. I joined San Francisco's Bats Improv. And I'm going to do this for 6 weeks. We meet once a week. And I told myself, I'm going to write a 5-minute set by the time the 6 weeks are done. Keep in mind, I did not know the structure of a joke. I didn't know that a punchline followed, that there's the rules of threes, there's misdirection. It was just me wanting to make people laugh. So I wrote it and I told the instructor, I said, hey, I want to do stand up. That's the reason I'm doing this. Can I, on our last class, do a 5-minute set? And he said, sure. And that was it. I did it. Great. And then the next week I went to my first open mic. It was just, I mean, I thought I felt a rush when I did my set in the class. Open mic, it was even worse. It was like magnified. And then I thought, oh, okay, I get it. I see what this is like. And I said, I'm going to give myself 1 year. Do I like it? And am I good at it? There's enough delusional men on the planet. I don't need to be another one. So,
well, I say this, you have to be a little delusional to be a comedian, and because we want a room full of strangers to love us, or not all strangers, but mostly strangers, to love us in 30 seconds and to laugh at what we're saying. What? But
I mean, it's true. You're right. Skill. You need a certain level of delusion, arrogance, confidence, childhood trauma, neglect.
Oh, that's all part of it.
Yeah. Come together. So that's what I did. I gave myself 1 year. And then when I got off the stage the first time, the gentleman hosting the mic in San Francisco, his name is Tony Sparks. He's referred to as the godfather of comedy.
Really?
He pulled me aside and he goes, you have something. He goes, get to your punchline a little faster. He goes, but keep working. And I was like, okay, thank you. And I have to say, I didn't grow up with a father, but I've had amazing father figures along the way. Him taking the time to just say those words was
so important.
The thing that I needed. And I thought, okay, so I felt this thing not to let him down. I'm like, all right. So I kept working. And 2 months in, I got booked for my first show. Again, the biggest rush, heart was bouncing off my chest. And 8 years later, here we are. I'm still telling dick jokes.
Okay. Yeah, and when I realized this, I was much later in life, and I had done improv at Second City many times when I was in my late 20s. But I had never thought I would be a stand-up because I had terrible stage fright then. I didn't have the self-confidence that I had when I started at 69. I just didn't. And so, but like you, when I got on that stage for that first open mic that I was tricked into, I it was like Spider-Man, I tell people, when he got bit. There was no going back. I was going to do this. I knew I was funny like you. I was always like the life of the party. I was the personality hire in what I did. I worked in show business. I worked in television and film for many years as a costumer. And so I was always making everybody laugh on set, and making the actors laugh. And that's a good test, I guess, if you can make them laugh. And but I didn't think this would be a career at that time, or I didn't think this would be a career. Is it a career? How can you have a career when you don't get paid most of the time?
Yeah. It's a very expensive hobby. That takes a lot of time.
Yeah. So I'm not in it for the money. We have our own business, and I'm still very involved in that, and I imagine I will be till eternity. But I mean, we'll see. I'm now 70. How far can I go? And you're here 8 years. I see people though that are in San Diego that have been doing it, and I know they hate me for saying this, but they've been here 20 years, and they've never. They do local shows here, and maybe they'll headline here, but they're headlining not in a club. They're headlining in a restaurant or a bar or something, and getting paid $75. And that's not, to me, that's not the success that I would think I would have after 20 years. I would probably shoot myself if that's what I was doing after 20 years. But I don't have 20 years. And so, I'm on the fast track. Yeah, I don't have 20 years. And it is a process, and I just shot my first special, and we're almost ready to launch it. Yes, I know, that's so exciting. And so I try not to swear. I try to be a clean comedian because in life I am not clean. But to be a clean comedian, takes some practice for me. Is your comedy clean? Do you swear? How do you?
So I don't think I'm not considered clean. I don't use
Mhm.
profanity. I don't call women
Okay.
bitches or hoes, and I don't punch down the audience. So the rules that I have for myself, those are my rules. Don't refer to women as bitches or hoes. Don't use bad words. If there's a purpose for the word, sure. But I hear comedians get up on stage and and I'm saying that's not adding. That's not doing anything.
Right.
And I try not to punch down unless there's a reason to punch down, and that's if
Mhm.
an audience member gives me a reason. They speak in the middle or they're disrespectful to a comic. Like I have
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
patience for that whatsoever.
Yeah.
So those are my rules. But am I clean? No. Could I do a clean set? Yes. Does it require effort and a lot of mental manipulation? More than I care to expend myself. But I consider my comedy to be a little taboo. I do a lot of innuendos. I skirt around the idea. I don't use graphic visuals, whatever. Like I don't do that, but I
Mhm.
will. Like I have a joke. I'll just test this joke on you, and I say,
Okay.
gay men, cholos have a lot in common with gay men. They have,
Right there. The
yeah,
premise right there.
yeah. I was like, they have both mastered the art of cruising. They love to color coordinate their outfits, and they are always ready for a gangbang. I don't think it's dirty. It brings the topic.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't.
Yeah.
So, but my version of dirty and everyone's version of dirty I found out are completely different because I'm like, that's not a dirty
Sure.
set. Like, you just said gangbang. That's dirty. And I'm like, oh,
Right.
wow, that's your
Right.
version of dirty. So,
Yeah. Yeah. I'm yes, I understand why some people might be upset. I'm not upset because nothing upsets me. I worked in the movies where the F word was said as many times as as and was. I hated that everything was an F. So in fact, I had to really clean it up after I retired from there because I it was a lot. And who would you say are your audience? Is it a gay audience? Is it LGBT? Is it what
no,
is it?
my audience, well, I'm really popular with men. Who knew? Uh,
So am I, but in another way. No, just kidding.
no, we're both popular in the same way. Trust me.
Ah,
My women love me. So I would say
mhm.
if I do a room full of women in their mid 30s to mid 50s, they love me. One,
Okay.
because they can relate to the material that I'm talking about. They're like, oh, I know what you're talking about. They relate to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I think I present myself in a way, or just as who I am, where I'm not threatening. I'm
Mhm.
I'm approachable. I'm accessible to some degree. I'm accessible to some degree. So
You
I think,
are. I mean,
yeah,
just as a person, you are. Yeah.
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 So I remember a long time ago, I tried doing self-deprecating humor. And I was
Mhm.
so grateful to this comic. This comic was in the room. And afterwards, she said, self-deprecating humor doesn't work on you. And she goes, you're a good looking guy. You're in shape. She goes, you
Yeah.
need to be like a Louis C.K. He can do self-deprecating humor. So then I started looking around. I'm like, there is a common thread some comedians share. Non-threatening,
Yeah.
not particularly attractive, not necessarily in great shape, maybe
Yeah.
mousy, maybe, whatever it is. There aren't that many, what was his name? He got really Dane Cook. When Dane Cook came into the
Dane
scene,
Cook.
yeah, he was like this good looking guy. He brought women into the scene. Now there's this Matt Rife character who's like a Ken doll. So they're in a
Well,
kind of
I
different.
know I saw Theo Vaughn's podcast where he said to a man when you showed up to Matt Rife, he said, when you showed up, we were like, who is this kid? Who is this Ken doll?
Yeah,
And he said, you were making us, the rest of us look bad, buddy. But go on.
I
I,
think
I
I think
love what you're saying.
Theo Vaughn does a good enough job looking bad on his own. He doesn't need Matt Rife for this. But no, it's true. There was a certain Louis C.K. is this, we thought, non-threatening, average, balding, chubby, middle-aged man. And you start to look around, Jim Gaffigan, Louis C.K., even Jerry Seinfeld is kind of mousy, skinny. It was like, oh, these guys get a certain access that Matt Rife wouldn't
Yeah.
get. Now, keep in mind,
Yeah.
Matt Ryan gets access that an average guy is not going to get. So
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like
Yeah.
when you start seeing comedy through that lens, you're like, oh, I see a common thread here. Got it.
Right.
So in my
Right.
case, it was like self-deprecating doesn't work on you. I can make fun of my height because I'm not that tall, and I can make fun of my luscious hair. Those are the only times that self-deprecating work. But yeah,
Yeah, my dad had luscious hair like you do, as did my brother. And then my dad used to say he had more hair than he's ever had, two
yeah.
cigar boxes full. And if he had been alive now, I would have sent him to Turkey. I would have him get some hair. But my son is getting a little bald spot in back. And I said, let's fly you to Turkey. Let's get some hair implants.
It also
And
depends if you have the face to pull it off. I mean, I'm fortunate that I have a
right.
pretty round shape. So
Yeah, and you have a neat beard. I like how trimmed your beard is. It's like almost a fade, your beard. And it's
yeah,
beautiful.
I try and
So,
keep myself presentable to the public. I'm like, if I cannot make them laugh, at least they'll look at me and say, he wasn't funny, but I sleep with them. Those are my two goals. Can I make you laugh, or do you have desire to sleep with me? Other than that, I'm good.
and then, okay. And for me, it's that the last one is off the table. I've had 70 years of men in my life, and I've had a few husbands, and I've had a few lovers, and I am I'm over that. Been there, done that. Next, give me the dog. I love the dog. Let me cuddle with my golden doodle. But I'm not your age. When I was your age, it was different. Anyway, so you started doing comedy, and how I met you is you were producing a show. Tell me about producing shows, like the difference between your show and a regular bringer show, and your philosophy on that, because I think you have a really cool philosophy about that.
So yeah, I mean, I started producing shows 5 months into doing comedy. Uh, not Fresh Faces, which is the show that I do now, Fresh Faces comedy show. But I started producing shows 5 months in. And the reason I started is I started getting booked. I was very fortunate that I started getting booked, and I would start to see these shows, and I would see and hear the same perspective every time. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like,
Mhm.
you're saying same thing he said. He just different vehicle, but it's the same message. And I started going to shows, and I was like, huh, I want to do a show where the lineup represents the people that I know. And that was the initial thought. I want to line up to I have married friends, single friends, slutty friends, young, old, children, you name it. I have all sorts of friends. So after watching the same comedians all the time and think they're hilarious, and I'm like, you know, I thought, what if I produce a show? I want to produce a show. And the rules that I told myself is if you book 3 men, you have to book 3 women.
Thank you.
That was rule number 1. By the way, not difficult to do. I've managed to do it for 8 years. It is possible. So that was rule number 1. Number 2 is I wanted my lineup to be diverse. I don't need 5 other Sergios on stage. Some would say 1 Sergio is too much. 5, overkill. So I wanted the, the grandmother. I wanted the single mom. I wanted the, everything, you name it. I wanted to hear the different perspectives. And the one feedback I would get from people everywhere was, oh, I love how each comedian had a unique perspective. And I was like, that's it. That's what I wanted.
Yeah,
So that's what I
nice
started.
variety.
Yeah, it was a little brewery in Dogpatch in San Francisco. That led to a coffee shop. That led to another bar. That led to another. Fast forward, I had like 4 shows happening at once.
Wow.
And it was the same rule. I just want equal men, equal women. I've done branches. I branched out and I did like a mom show, a dad show, young, gifted, and black show, Latinos only, women on top. Like I've did all these other variations. It's a lot of work.
Yes, it is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, especially like you said earlier in your intro. A comedy show is not just a mic and a speaker. You need a flyer. You need to design it. You need to go on social media. You need to get ticket links. You need to coordinate with a venue. You need to negotiate. All these things go into it. And sometimes comedians who don't produce shows don't understand that. Or they call themselves producers. You're smoking pot while this train is derailed. This is not a show.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and again, we all learn and we all have, there's one thing I've learned in life. You cannot teach taste level. It is what it is. You either have it or you don't. So if for you getting a little app on your phone and you create your rinky dinky flyer full of all these letters and combos and things that you cannot even read, that's fine. That's not how I see it. I've been a joy. I've been like this since I was 5, so I've been a joy to be around. So I started producing shows, and I remember what triggered me or what inspired me to do Fresh Faces comedy show. When I first started doing comedy, I would get approached by producers and say, "Hey, I'll put you on my show. Can you bring me 3 people or 5 people?" Then I learned the term bringer. I was like, "Oh, okay. This is kind of rite of passage, kind of paying your dues." Sure.
Yeah.
But after a few
But
months,
eventually they
Yeah.
run out of friends, and your friends don't want to pay prices to come places and whatever. And you're not building an audience. But go on.
yeah, and that's pretty much what I saw. And
Mhm.
I was I'm too old to be disappointed at this point, but I was a little disappointed to see how many. One, I was disappointed how the comedy community and industry has not evolved. Oh, this is the way it's done. You go to open mics, you pay your dues, and then eventually you're funny. You know, we also used to ride a horse and buggy, and now we have electric cars. Now we have driverless cars. So how is it that everything has advanced, but not comedy?
Yeah.
And looks like you. I don't have 20 years. I don't have 20 years to be bouncing around from bar to bar to open mic. I can't. I have a job.
Yeah.
I look to work out at 5:30 in the morning. Like I can't be up till midnight every night. So I I've started to realize that it's almost like, oh, it's a privilege that you get to perform on our stage. And to some degree, I agree with that. It's like, oh wow, you get to be on, you name the club. It's a great feeling. But a lot of people are just taking advantage of New York comedians. So that's the difference between a good show producer and a producer that's just kind of sketchy and shady. So I remember when I saw that, I thought, I never want to do a bigger show. I would have
Yeah.
voted you because I think you're funny, because I think you have a
Mhm.
cool perspective. And that's what I look at. I will get video submissions, and I kid you not, I sit here and I just close my eyes and I will see, where do they take me without the visual?
Yeah.
And then I'll watch the video and I'm like, oh, this person's animated, or they stand in one place, or why do they keep adjusting their belt? Like I look at, this is the way my brain works, by the way. It's a curse. I started to notice that. And then I realized, oh, okay, I don't want to do that. I want to book you because I think you have a cool perspective. And then that's how I started. And then I moved to LA. LA is a completely different animal.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. In San Francisco, I would have a room of 150 people. I would pay each comedian. I'd pay the headliner double whatever I would pay each comedian.
Yeah.
So when I got to LA and I started producing shows, and I remember I paid people, and they're like, "Oh, you pay?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." And they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
people in LA don't pay." And I was like, "Oh, that's interesting." I started doing shows, and I've not gotten paid for so many shows, and I'm like, "Oh, wait a minute. I'm being generous and trying to compensate you because I know how much this takes, but you have a comedian who's not even willing to share your flyer, won't post it on social media, won't comment,
Yeah.
won't share." And I'm like,
Yeah.
your name on this show did not sell 1 ticket. And yeah,
Right.
you want
Right.
stage time and you want to get paid.
Right.
Who are you? I mean, talk about delusion. So
Yeah.
I
Exactly.
I had to readjust, and I was like, okay, this doesn't seem to work. And then an opportunity, and so that was literally 6 years ago. And then an opportunity came up, and someone said, "Hey, I have this room. I'm looking to do comedy. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Well, I am, but there's the way I see the world, and then there's the way everyone else sees the world, and they don't always match. So I want to make sure we're on the same page." Turns out we were not on the same page. But I thought, wait a minute. People are bringing their friends to shows that they're getting nothing out of it. The show is poorly run. It starts late. There's 25 people in the lineup that by the time you go up, it's midnight. Everyone's tired. It's a disaster. And I've seen those shows.
Yeah.
And I thought,
That's too many people. Yeah.
yeah, too many. And honestly, beyond 6, you're really pushing it. Unless they
I
only do it.
agree.
Yeah, unless you only do it 5 minutes
agree.
each, and it's run like it's just boom, 5 minutes, next
Yeah.
person, next
Yeah.
person. So then that's how Fresh Faces came about. Fresh Faces came about. These newer comics, or not even newer comics, it might take someone 4 years to be good. I was listening to a guy on the Mark Maron podcast. His name is Jesus Treos. He's very popular at the Comedy Store. He said, I bombed for the first 5 years. Like,
Oh.
he goes, no laughs, nothing. He goes, but I just kept going and kept going and kept going until I finally got good and I got better. And now he's a headliner.
Mhm.
So my problem with comedy is that some people will see that and say, this is what you have to do to be good. No, That's how long it took him. I have a different life experience.
Right.
I've seen the world differently. My experience also is going to play a role into how I manage myself. So
Yeah.
I have no patience for lazy comics whatsoever.
And there are a whole group of them that are really lazy. Even the show producers I know that, put out the flyer the day before the show. That doesn't help anybody.
No.
And, but I see that a lot. And so I'm not so thrilled with that.
Well,
The one
and
thing that you brought up is that someone told me at the very beginning, Honest Fox Media, who manages me, they said, "You're not just a comedian. You're really in the business of selling tickets, Susie, and putting butts in seats. That is your job." And I want to tell other comedians that. I tell them that and they get offended. They're like, "Oh no, I'm an artist. Screw that. You have to these clubs or these places, okay, let's say even if they don't charge you for the ticket, they want to sell you food and drink. Because that's where they make their money. They're not doing this out of the goodness of their hearts. They need to make money. And the clubs need to make money, just as much as anybody else. And people just don't. A lot of comics don't get this. I don't
there are a
know.
lot of
Is it because of
comedians.
my age or what?
No. Life experience is one of them. Two,
Mhm.
um, age does play a role. I mean, when I was 20s, in my early 20s, I probably would have put up with nonsense like sleeping on a futon. Futon. You're not going to get me to sleep on the couch at my age. I need a bed,
Oh, no, no.
full bed.
Camping for me is
Oh,
the Wyndham.
that is that is a crime. Camping? No, I will break up with you if you think we're going to go camping. We're not going camping.
Oh,
I
you know
mean,
what I call it?
my version of camping is staying at a lodge with room service. That's camping.
Yes, exactly.
But no, there's this huge disconnect where comedians think that just by being funny, that's enough. It's not. And now, having had a business for 7 years, I know that there's insurance, there's workers' comp, there's payroll taxes, there's
Uh-huh.
a payroll processing fee, all these things. If I don't sell enough product to cover the expenses, I don't have a
Exactly.
business. I have a hobby.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it is.
Yes, that's what I tell people. I say I've been in the arts my whole life, and I say to them, you're running this either like a nonprofit. Even nonprofits have to make payroll. They have donations,
Yeah,
but you're running this like a nonprofit, or this isn't a communist country.
yeah.
This is democracy, baby. This is capitalism. That's how it works. But they look at me, these young people, like I am some old crabby woman, and I just say, no, so you have to get paid. These people can't pay their rent on your jokes. They
Well, the
can't.
thing, and the thing behind it for me is like, I'm not delusional. Have I been in rooms where I hit it out of the park? Yes. Have I been in rooms where I had to reevaluate my life choices and say, what, why are you doing this? Yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not a famous person. I don't have TV credits. I haven't been on a famous show. I haven't done any reality TV. So, in order for me to get booked on a show, what would be the incentive for the producer? Because if they don't have tickets sold, it doesn't matter. I did a show where every comedian was in the lineup, had TV credits, was on actual TV shows. One of them was on a TV show that was literally running at the time. 4 tickets. 4 tickets were sold.
Wow.
And none of them wanted to
Yep.
promote the show. None of them put
Yeah.
word out, which
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
don't understand. I look at Chelsea Handler, who is touring all over the world. She will post on her social media. She will do on her podcast, hey, you guys, I'm going to be in Vegas. I'm going to be in Utah. Here's someone who is established and she's promoting her show, but you're too good to promote a show. I don't
Exactly.
understand that mindset. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And
But
there's,
anyway,
everything is promoted in the world. And people say, oh, well, I'm not a salesman. Well, everything has to be sold somehow.
so,
Maybe by an influencer, maybe by your style of what you wear. So if you're wearing something, or maybe how you look, someone will ask you, where did you get that or whatever. But everything has to be sold. Everything we buy has to be sold to us. But I know that's just probably
and especially
perspective.
if you're an unknown person, no one knows who I am. No one knows Sergio. No matter how much uniqueness, charisma, nerve, and talent I have, it doesn't matter. Like, and also, and not to sound like completely like a jerk, which is an outfit I can wear really well, by the way.
Me too. I can be a bitz,
Yeah.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, if whatever it is you're doing, no one is there to see it, did the tree really fall in the forest or not?
Exactly. Exactly.
So and I have to say, I had a reality dose recently. I know someone who booked me for a few shows. So he'll say like, hey, can you come to the Bay Area? I've got a night for you. You could headline. But I was like, great. So he produces shows everywhere and big shows too. Nothing small. That was one of the first shows I got to headline. I got to headline at Cops Comedy Club.
Cool.
In San Francisco. And then he said, and this was, let me tell you, it was something I needed to hear at the time. He said, everyone calls themselves a headliner. Do you want to prove you're a headliner? Put your name up at a marquee and see how you do with ticket sales. If you're not selling out, you're not a headliner. Maybe you're a feature at best.
Yep.
And I heard him and I thought, oh my God. It was almost like that Sex and the City episode where Miranda was told, he's just not that into you. It was that refreshing. It was like, oh,
yes,
you don't need to act me like it. He's just not that into you. You may close out this bar show, like you said earlier. You may close out the restaurant, but you're not a headliner.
Yeah.
So that was very helpful for me to hear because as a producer, you deal with people's personalities.
Yes.
And being that I have multiple, I can manage those personalities. But it was like, oh, wow, this person's really detached. They think they are better than they are. I reached out to a comic once and I said, hey, I have a spot available. Would you be interested? It's pays this much. It's a 10-minute set. The person responded to me and said, I'll do your show, but only if I can headline it. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I think this person misinterpreted my message. I didn't call you to help me how to do a lineup. I was just giving you a talk. So I was like, we're good. I said, oh, no worries. I already found someone else. But yeah, seems to be this disconnect with comedians who think they're greater than they are. None of us are Richard Pryor. None of us are Joan Rivers or George Carlin. None of us.
Joan Rivers. God, I love that woman. She's what made me love comedy.
Oh yeah. If there was if I could turn back time, me and Cher, the one person I love to meet is Joan Rivers. I
met her. I interviewed to write for her show.
I have a tattoo of hers on my shoulder.
What does it say?
When she won her Emmy and her daytime Emmy, she was talking about, he goes, the one person who should be here is not. And he would always tell me, even in the darkest times, you can turn things around. You can turn things around. She goes, I wish you would have believed it that day in that hotel in Philadelphia. So my tattoo says backwards, you can turn things around. So when I look in the mirror, I can read it. So it's my little. Oh
my gosh, that's so wonderful. I love that.
So it's my honoring her. It's also my reminder that my perspective, my outlook, my interpretation, all of that can always be turned around. So that's my little Joan Rivers. Yeah, whatever I'm thinking, I can turn it around. Because I also believe whatever you think is true, there is an equally opposing view that is also true. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. But what we
need to be better friends. I think we do. I think we have a lot in common. Can I change the subject now and talk a little bit about you as a person? I have these crazy questions I ask. Do you collect anything?
No, because I have an addictive personality. So it's a slippery slope. I know it will be one thing. And so He-Man came out recently. And I remember He-Man. I was still pretty young, but I remember watching the cartoons and I wanted to buy the toys. But I'm like, oh, Sergio, careful. It takes one. And then before you know it, you're going to be a 40-year-old virgin with a room full of toys. And
I've made a lot of guys like that with a lot of superhero. I have a son-in-law like that. He got a woman.
I admire their dedication, but I have no patience for it. But I told a friend of mine that I wanted to get He-Man toys. And he goes, oh, I actually have the sorceress that I was going to give to someone. If you want it, you can have it.
Oh,
I have the sorceress from 1983.
I love that. I love that.
This is the only one I have. And actually, I probably would have more, but I've been to so many stores to try and buy the current figures. They're always out. They're like, oh, you can order online. I'm like, no, I don't want to order online. I want to go buy it and take it with me. So this is
a concept. I love her, the sorceress. Okay, well, and do you prefer to work straight or do you? I mean, a lot of comedians are very imbibed before they get to on stage. Do you prefer to be straight on stage or do you do a little something to take the edge off?
No, I don't do anything when I perform. If I bomb, I wouldn't know why I bombed. But if I did drugs or drank, one, it's going to become a crutch. Two, my waistline cannot afford the calories, nor my wallet. So I'm like, I'm not doing a shot. I know. And again, I have no judgment. Everyone has to go on their journey. That's your
Yeah.
journey.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
I never want to drink. I never want to do anything that is going to impair what I do. And it'll give me that delusion where I think it's funny, but then it's like, oh no, you were drunk. So yeah, no, I don't do anything on stage. This makes me very
I love that. Yeah, and I basically I have a Diet Coke now before I go on stage. It's a poor man's Adderall, I call it, and helps me focus. And then I don't normally drink it, and so that's my big treat. And okay, and living. Who's one of your favorite? A living comic. Who's one of your favorite comics who's still alive?
I saw Gary Goldman recently. Well, maybe about a year now. He came to Largo in LA, and I've always been a fan. The way his brain works is amazing to me.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, hour and a half. I couldn't even tell you how long it was. There was not an or a pause. This man took you on a journey, pulled you in. I mean, there were times that I think we were all going to cry because his stories were so compelling. I walked away from that show and I was like, I don't know what we're doing, but we're not doing comedy. That was incredible. So I am a huge fan of his. I try not to follow a lot of famous people on social media. It's just distracting. It's a waste of time. They also don't need my support. You're good. I follow. I think he's an incredible writer. I love how he brings his personal life stories and he makes them so compelling and he takes you on a journey that I remember thinking, Sergio, that's what you need to do to be good. So he is one person that I really admire. I was fortunate enough to be in a lineup with Jay Moore, who I got to meet.
Jay Moore.
Yeah, very, very nice guy. And watching him on stage, and I was like, wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Like, you need to be that good, Sergio. Another person that I think is so clever, Felipe Esparza. I got to work with him. I've never shared a stage with him. I got to work with him, and I got to be in the same room and talk to him. So funny. And I love how authentically himself he is. And that's something that I struggle with on stage because since I was a little kid, I was learning to hide and mask who I was just so I can be safe. And then comedy requires you to be yourself. And everyone says, oh, just be yourself. Yeah, that's easy for you to say when you've been hiding for most of your life, where you've been watching the way you present yourself, the words you use, and everyone has an opinion on how you should do things. Not as easy. But Felipe, he just does it, and he's a great joke writer. So there's so many different people. I love Chelsea Handler. I love the journey she's been on. There's so many different people for different reasons. But yeah, Gary Goldman is the one that pops to mind. I think he is the most underrated, most smartest comic out there. I think he's incredible. I would love to shadow him just so I can consume some of that talent.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got a lot of talent. I agree with you there. Mike Birbiglia is another person who can take a tragedy and, I don't know if you know Mike Birbiglia.
I know the name. I don't have a visual right now.
Okay. Well, he has several Netflix specials, but he has a sleep disorder where he walked through a plate glass window in his sleep and crashed down, I don't know how many stories out of a hotel room. And he had cancer. And he is able to turn these things into, and he's long form, and his callbacks are phenomenal. They're worth the wait. Oh. He said to me when I met him, he said, they used to tell me, get at the Comedy Store, that the cellar in New York, get to the punchline, Mike. Where's the punchline? All set up, no punchline.
That was the advice the Tony Sparks gave me. He's like, get your punchline a little faster. So you haven't seen
They tell me that.
Yeah, you haven't seen me do stand-up. Like, you only saw me hosting the show. I discovered through the years, my style is set up punchline, set up punchline, set up punchline. So I will have something that I'm going to tell you. I will write a certain amount of jokes for that particular topic. And everything I do is set up punchline, next set up punchline. So boom, 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 boom. That's just the way my brain works too.
That creates also a nice rhythm in comedy. And what I did at the show I was at for you, I would have, if I had to do over again, I would have done a bit I do about Sex and Space, which has many more punchlines in it. And it was better for the audience, I think. However, but I'm going to do that down at the Yellow Door. I'm going to do Sex and Space.
It's always a tricky one too, because I will walk into a show and I have an idea. I'm like, okay, I'm going to talk about this today. But then I watch the room, I see reactions. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This audio, maybe I'll move this, maybe I'll do that. Which is it's good that I have enough material that I can do that. That being said, sometimes I question myself. I'm like, am I questioning myself because I'm uncertain, or am I trying to adapt to what I see in the room? And one of the best advice Felipe Esparza gave me to don't adapt your material to the room. Let the room adapt to you.
Yeah, bring them to you.
Yeah. And I remind myself of that.
Yeah.
So I hear you on that. I mean, in the competition, it's 4 minutes. You have 4 minutes to get them to know you, 4 minutes for the judges to see, is there structure? How many laughs did they get? How did they command the stage? And I mean, even if you brought 25 people, it didn't mean you would make it through the preliminary round, because the preliminary round is voted on by the judges. So the other thing, I've seen competitions where someone brings their entire village, no offense to them, but they're not really that funny, and they end up winning. And that is very discouraging, I think, as a comic.
And I've seen that a lot.
Yeah. And it also gives a comic who's not quite there yet a delusion to think that they're better than they are. It's like, you brought everyone you know. So when I did the competition, I was like, I don't want anyone to feel that way. Yeah, bring people, because someone has to pay for this. You're walking away with $300. But I want whomever makes it to the semifinals to know that they made it because they had a talent for it. Their jokes, their material, whatever it is, not just because they brought 50 people. So anyway, to go back to that.
All right. We're almost out of time. Is there anything you want to ask me?
One, I told you this when I saw you in person. I think you photographed so well. When I saw your picture, I was like, oh, what a great headshot. I wonder how she got into this. And now that you said you worked in costume, I'm like, oh, that answers my other question. Her style, your sense of style was really good. And when I saw your clip, I was like, oh, this is great. This perspective is great. This is definitely a person I want to see on stage. So when you told me you did fashion, I was like, oh, that answers that question. Because that was going to be my question. It was like, oh, you have such a style to you, the way you dress, your glasses, the color, the vibrancy. So when you said you did costumes, I'm like, that answered it. And what made you get into comedy? Because you said you started late.
I certainly started late. I was at a mastermind group because we run this business and in Charleston, South Carolina, and they said to me, what would you do? We just have a feeling that this isn't your love. And it wasn't my love. It's my husband. He's very famous in his area. He's very talented. And I run the business end of it because he's not a good businessman. Which not everybody is. It's hard to represent yourself. Yes. And so I said, well, probably if I had to do all over again, I'd be a stand-up comic. But I'm, I was almost 69, and I said, I don't want to live in my car and drive around from city to city doing open mics at 1:30 in the morning and listen to DICK jokes. And so they laughed and they said, well, you are very funny. You've been making us laugh all weekend. And I'm used to that. I'm so used to that. So as a surprise, everybody on this podcast has heard this. They told me the last night we were together, we have a surprise for you. And I was looking for a box or a bag on the table. I thought it was a present. And they said, we got you. Yeah. And they said, oh, a candle. How nice. And so I said, so they said, well, we got you 10 minutes at an open mic. And it was a mixed open. 10 minutes. Well, it's the South. People talk slow.
Okay,
that's true.
First time, I'm like, oh my God, that's a lot of time.
Right. And it was a mixed mic. So there were musicians. So actually they were happy to have comedy too. But I said, well, I don't have 10 minutes, just so you know. I have not been thinking that I was going to do this. And they said, well, we know that. And that day I had gotten a text from someone. Have you ever gotten a text that was meant for someone else that they sent to you?
Yeah. Yes.
And it was the wrong, they said to me, who I am part Black, which people don't know, and half Jewish. And they said to me, you'll be my slave for the entire day.
Wow.
And I said, really? This is not meant for me because my people check that box. And we're not doing that. There's no room for that here. And so I opened up on the stage. I pulled out my phone and I said, if you ever, this, I said to them at the beginning, I didn't know I was coming here till an hour ago. So if I'm not funny, yell at those people at that table over there because I didn't know I was coming. This is my first time up at an open mic ever. And of course they cheered or whatever. And in the South they're very respective of their elders, which California they're not as much. But I'm earning my respect. And so I did it, and as I said, it's like Spider-Man. There was no going back. I crushed. I thought that it was always going to be like that. I just crushed. I told. They said, "Well, tell some of your stories." So I told a couple stories that I didn't have time to time out, and I crushed. And but it was the South, and people are willing to listen. People talk slower there. They're not in such a hurry like New York would be or Chicago. I'm from Chicago originally, or LA. They were like, they loved it. And so I thought, well, it's just always going to be like this. And then I took a comedy class here. I didn't take improv because I know how to do improv. I know how to do improv. So now I'm working on a kind of a one woman show that someone who's a very famous comic is working with me to help me develop, which is very nice. But so yeah, so here we are, and I'm doing it. I'm doing a couple open mics a week because my first year I did over 100 performances on stage. I got booked for a lot of shows, and I did some classes where you get a showcase at the end, and that's a good way to. Although the people who are there love you, and not really the real test of the waters,
Yeah.
but as you know,
You
but
get more material. That's another thing I find a lot of comedians are like, oh, that's a waste of money. No, there is an art to doing this. There is a structure, and I
sure,
want to be
sure.
surrounded by a group of people who are trying to achieve the same thing, who are ideally better than me, so I can better myself. So yeah,
Yeah.
um, I try and take workshops. I try and write as much as I can. I try and write a joke a day if I can. No, I hear you. Oh, God. So that's how you got into this. Oh, good. It's great.
Yeah, that's how I got into it. And my husband, I say he loves this because I don't let him eat fast food usually. And so when I go do a show, he orders DoorDash, Kentucky Fried Chicken or Wendy's or whatever he's getting. And he loves that. That's why, no, he goes to a lot of my shows, but he doesn't
By
go
the
up to
way,
LA.
you said something earlier. You said you're part black, but nobody knows this. Have you talked about that on stage? Because that is a funny opener right there.
Yeah, I know. I say that I am the whitest white woman. You look at the mayonnaise takes advice from me.
Yeah.
But I don't say that. I haven't talked about it. I did talk about being Jewish, and I got a very, very bad reaction at a couple shows. I got someone actually told me to die Jew on the stage. And the showrunner did not say a thing, did not protect me, did not
Where
do
was this?
anything. And in San Diego. We're in a very provincial place, San Diego.
You know what's funny about San Diego, and don't
Mm.
don't hate on me, San Diego. I've been to some shows and stuff, but I've seen people do certain things. I'm like, oh, this city is not as progressive as people think. Um,
Not at all.
and
Provincial.
the thing that surprises me about anyone is 2026. You guys get a book. Just read it online if you have to. Just get some information. I was watching.
Yeah.
He used to host the Daily Show, a South African Trevor Noah.
Oh, yes. I know Trevor Noah. Hmm.
Yeah, love, love, love. And he was saying it's interesting how Africans and Middle Eastern players have to answer for their country's political woes and their decisions. But yet no one is ever asked from Europe or the United States on their
Oh,
views
now
on,
we are.
well, no,
Oh,
but
I go to Europe. They don't like us.
well,
They're
no,
like, why did you vote for that guy?
no, we're talking about the soccer players for the FIFA game.
Oh, the soccer. Oh, okay.
So all the FIFA players, none of the Americans or Europeans were being asked anything about what are
Yeah.
your
Oh,
thoughts
you're right.
on da da da. But
Hmm.
yet the Iranian players, all these, and I thought, oh, that is a valid point. Oh yeah, I was in Europe when Bush won the second time around. My goodness, I got tired of defending the country, and I'm like, you guys, I live in San Francisco. We did not vote for him. And they're like, "Oh, San Francisco. Oh, okay." But if I said anything else, no, the world hates us right now, and rightfully so. So,
I
you
don't
know,
know. I've lived. I tell these people. I said this on stage. I said I've lived a long time. I've seen a lot of elections, and if you think these politicians are really going to help you or are looking out for you, there's a Santa Claus and a Tooth Fairy out there that you can also hope they're going to show up too because they always promise and whatever, and they're politicians. Their job is to be elected. Their job used to be public servants, but now all they do is get elected and get votes and get FaceTime on clips and whatever. And so I
That's it.
hope, and what I want to say to our country is, I hope people are more than who they vote for,
I hope
because
so.
that's such a small part of our life. And I'm not, I know I came from Chicago. I was a lakefront liberal. I lived in New Mexico for a long time, and that's a whole different ball game. Uh,
I've been to New
and
Mexico. I did a show in there. I opened for Paul. I toured with Paul Rodriguez for 3 years, and we did a show in New Mexico.
oh,
And I went to Albuquerque. I decided to take a lift.
uh-huh.
It was interesting. It was the architecture is different, and yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean,
Architecture, it's against the law in New Mexico. There's no architecture,
I
it's
mean,
blocks.
it's like boxes. But the way that I kind of look at everything in life, it's like, look, what you decide to do for your life does not impact my pay, my sleep, anything I do. So why do I care?
We're dictated a lot of this by media and social media. And I think people are a lot better on whatever they believe or not believe than we're giving them credit for.
Yeah.
And my grandson says to me, he'll say he's 28 and he has some strong opinions, and I'll say, well, maybe you want to think about it, from their getting their shoes first and see why they're thinking what they're thinking. And I just believe, I want someone to believe in God, because if they think they are God, we got a problem,
Yeah.
as people screw it up.
Yeah, I
So,
think the other thing I've realized is like, look, this is my lifetime, and I'm experiencing things for a very small window. There are worse things that have happened before us: civil rights,
mhm,
slavery, the murder of so many innocent natives who are living here. Like, the world has gone through many turmoils, and who knows
yeah,
what they're going to be in the future. So I'm here for such a short window. I'm just happy that I happened to be in the window when I got to experience Madonna, who she is, and the pop culture influence she's had on the world. That's what I'm grateful for. The rest, I'm like, it'll be okay, Sergio. The world is going to be fine. The sun will still rise tomorrow. Everything's going to be good. When you're in it, you're like, oh, I've read about this. Now I'm living it. And that's where it gets a little
yeah.
tricky. But yeah,
Yeah, well, life is messy. It's tricky and it's messy.
yeah.
It just is.
Most-
Anyway, and I'm gonna end it there, but I just thank you for being on the podcast. Thanks for, your show ideas and your promotion ideas. I think they're refreshing, as fresh faces are. And I'm going to see you at the end of August.
yeah.
And tell everybody where your shows and your company, your production company is. Give us your digits right now.
My digits? Okay. So, Fresh Faces, if you are a newer comic or just a comic that hasn't been passed by a comedy club and you want to compete, it's freshfacescomedyshow.com. Fill out the form, send a clip. Please send a clip that has laughter in it. Make sure you type your right email address. Make sure you put in your right phone number. Uh, and
You're
there's a,
talking comedians.
and there's a generation of comedians that like to go by very unique names. Somehow John Smith, and it doesn't seem to work. And I'm like, ugh, how am I going to find this person? So submit a clip, be funny. If you win, you get $300. You get to come back and close out next month's show. And there's always an added prize that I do. Typically, it's a spot at the Improv. So you end up walking away with 3 prizes. You do have to bring 5 people because that's going to pay for your prize. 5 people, tickets are $10 to $12. You win $300. You can easily pay all of them back and still have money left.
Nice.
Um,
And
uh,
so how do they find you? Where
um,
where are you on Instagram? Are you on
Fresh Faces Comedy
YouTube?
Show. Yeah, freshfacescomedyshow.com. Fresh
Mhm.
Faces Comedy Show on Instagram.
Mhm.
My Instagram is the Sergio Novoa. SERGIONOV as in Victor OA. There's an O between the V and the A.
Novoa.
Novoa.
Okay.
The Sergio
Okay.
Novoa, Fresh Faces. Yeah, and I perform around Southern California, and yeah, I'm doing this thing for now. I want to give newer comics quality stage time. Um, I also started. I've only posted one tip. Where's the laugh? I don't know if you saw it. Uh, you can have all the most wonderful premise in the world. If there's no punchline, you're not telling a joke. So
Exactly.
once a month, I'm going to put a tip, and I just want to save them some of the headaches that I had coming up. And I'm still going up. I mean, I'm still climbing, and hopefully provide them a good stage time, the opportunity to win something, and the opportunity to meet other people who are working hard at this and are trying to be funny.
Yes.
So yeah,
Yes.
and that's
Yes.
pretty
All
much it.
right.
So cool.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Sergio.
Thank you.
And
Great. To see you.
for now, everybody, thanks for listening and joining us. And check out his shows, New Fresh Faces. I just love this idea. And we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Say bye.
Well, that's enough for now. The Suzi Chicago podcast was produced by Podium Studios in Marietta, Georgia. Please like, subscribe, and share. See you next time.